When the matriarch of the Graham family passes away, her daughter's family begins to unravel cryptic and increasingly terrifying secrets about their ancestry.
And, set in the near future, technology controls nearly all aspects of life, but when Gray, a self-identified technophobe, has his world turned upside down, his only hope for revenge is an experimental computer chip implant called STEM. Welcome to another special feature episode of Midnight Double Feature, and today we'll be reviewing Hereditary, directed by Ari Lister, and Upgrade, directed by Lee Wanell. What's going on, Zoheb? How you doing tonight, bud?
Hey, man, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited. I'm loving using this new laptop and this new setup, and it was just a nightmare before. So now it's nice to have this.
Good shit.
It's nice to have this new one. But yeah, I'm definitely excited to talk about Upgrade. I know you're definitely excited to talk about Hereditary, and we actually might even be going to see it tomorrow before I go to work. So
badass. I don't know when I'm saying Upgrade, but I'm really keen. It's getting some really strong reviews. Also, just before we kick things off, I just want to put it out there. How cool is this? We're on a fucking news episode or review episode where we're not talking about like a specific movie and going through it. We're just kind of like shooting the shit, really.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's nice to. Yeah, this is one of the first news episodes that it's just it's been you and I, which is cool. I love listening to the ones where it's like you and Matt and doing, because it's nice to listen to something different. Than hearing myself all the time, because I'm a narcissist. But yeah, I'm definitely excited to see Hereditary. Because I'm
you're out there.
Yeah,
right?
Dude, I just started because I keep trying to say Heredity. That's what it is. It keeps messing me up now. I thought the movie was Heredity the whole time, and I was like, oh wait, it's Hereditary.
Heredity.
Heredity. I'm like,
is that a place?
I don't know why my brain is just like, bleh. But yeah, it's definitely nice just to have a kind of a casual episode. Got a few things to talk about. Definitely a few things in the news that I'm excited about, and these will definitely be spoiler-free reviews. I definitely don't want Hereditary ruined for me, and I know you don't want Upgrade ruined for you, and neither do our listeners. Yeah. So, we're definitely going to give it the grace period that it deserves before we start shitting all over it with spoilers.
Yeah, that's a cool image.
Yeah, right. Just a big ass, just shitting spoilers out.
just a fucking void monster.
Yeah, it has the internet just written on it. Just. But yeah, do you want to go first? Do you want me to do Upgrade? Do you want to do Hereditary first, or?
Look, you can kick it off with Upgrade.
You fucking asshole.
I just wanted to put it out there as well. I think you've got some snippets of news at the end, right?
Yeah, just a couple of things. Nothing too crazy, but yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, so I guess that'll be the format of the show. If you want to kick it off with Upgrade, I'll hit you after with Hereditary. And then we can just close with some news and have a little chat.
Yeah, man.
You know how it goes.
That sounds good to me. But yeah, Upgrade, man. It was really good. I was excited when I saw the trailer.
Wait, by the way, for both of these movies, I want to say you're fucking welcome, America.
Whatever.
You're fucking welcome.
I didn't even say it.
Hereditary.
I knew it was going to come up. I was like, I'm just going to wait. He's going to say it.
National pride, bitch.
Oh God, of course. But yeah, obviously both Australian directors. I
don't think Ari Lister's Australian. The guy who did Hereditary.
Oh.
Yeah, Lee Wanell is definitely Australian. He wrote and directed Upgrade, and he starred in Saw, the first one. He was not Dr. Gordon. I think his name is Adam in that movie. And he wrote that with James Wan as well. Same with Insidious. He starred in Insidious as well. Wrote it with James Wan. But yeah, he's pretty fucking cool, man. And it was filmed in Melbourne as well, which is pretty exciting. But yeah, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to throw out my Aussie pride out there.
Yeah, whatever. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, and Toni Collette, who's in Hereditary, she's Australian, isn't she?
Yeah, she's super Australian.
Yeah, she was really great. I loved her in a TV show, United States of Terror. They only.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, they've only done they only did a couple of seasons, and it got abruptly kind of canceled, so they had to like wrap it up. But it was really, really, really good show. Had like Brie Larson on it, before she got big and stuff. It was really good. But either way, Upgrade was really good. There's, if I had to give it, a grade scale, I would probably say like. I would high sixes, low sevens, maybe like a B minus, or a good B. It's a good movie, and it's got a kind of like a RoboCop meets Iron Man kind of feel to it.
Oh, that's a good mix.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely is for anybody who's a fan of science fiction or any kind of stuff like that. It felt at parts it felt very. And nothing, not ruining anything. Obviously from the previews, we see that this thing can talk to him and has conversations with him. So it felt a bit like Jarvis in that respects. But at the same time, with the program STEM controlling the body, there were a lot of robotic movements that felt very like Peter Weller RoboCop, and he did a great job. The body movement and stuff, and that was really great. And the visuals reminded me of something from like Blade Runner 2049. Not saying it's as good as that. I'm saying it reminded me of it. I want to make that line of distinction very clear because, the visuals were great. I'm just saying there's a lot of like amber colors, a lot of oranges, a lot of blues.
I see what you mean. Yeah, so the color palette was pretty
right.
Similar,
yeah,
right?
and the whole tone of it. Was somewhat similar, with being set in the future, and there's a lot of body modifications going on, and especially with a society that's advanced so far in technology, that felt really Blade Runner to me. But yeah, I enjoyed this from start to finish. There's a few parts that get a little like, okay, that line was bad. This is not very good. That was, man, that's okay. But for what they do, they pull their punches really well because it's a movie that I believe is rated R. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it's rated R. If it's not, I'm amazed. But I'm almost certain that it's rated R. For being a rated R movie, it could have been a lot more violent when but it wasn't necessary, and they pulled their punches really well, and they hit, instead of throwing just a bunch of cheap shots and a bunch of like quick things, they really hit you with like haymakers of like violence. And it's awesome because you're not expecting it. You're just seeing this action movie, and then boom, there's these like incredibly violent scenes that are like, oh, holy shit! Like this just went to a whole other level. It's kind of like the difference between like Django. There's a lot of quick pops and shots and stuff like that, but there's no like huge parts of like head explosions and stuff like that. So
yeah. Well, in Django, it's mostly used for comedic effect. More than anything.
Right, yeah. And there's just so many, and even that is, some people consider that movie ultra-violent, which I really don't. I don't think that's ultra-violent, but there, a lot of blood splatter. And
they can fuck
off.
Yeah,
right, fuck them. But all in all, I thought it was really, well done, especially with, this guy, I can't remember the main actor's name from it at all, because at first I totally thought it was Tom Hardy. For like the first 2 weeks, looking at it, I was like, oh, that's Tom Hardy. And, even when we were walking out of the theater, there's the poster for Upgrade, and then right next to it is the poster for Venom. And I was like, dude, come the fuck on. Like, they look exactly alike. And so, because I kind of thought, I was like, okay, maybe this is like a Hardy brother, I was like, maybe this is like one of the, and somebody at work made the joke, oh, one of the Hardy boys. I was like, oh my God, like the old like books. I was like, oh my God, what a dork. And
that's awesome.
But yeah, I thought it was really well done, especially with what's going on. It's a movie that doesn't have so much. It's not so far in the future that it's just unrealistic. There are. I mean, there definitely are aspects of it that are totally. You have to make that jump. It is science fiction. It's not going to try to be 100%.
Of course.
Yeah, it's not trying to be scientifically accurate. It's a fucking movie. But it seems like closer to a society that we have now, where we're seeing these AIs be built and face recognition on phones and Alexas and things like that. It seems a little bit closer to that, especially with with movies like Her, and again like the Jarvis AI and Iron Man. But it was really well done. And I was surprised by how much I like it. I'll definitely own it on DVD. But like all in all, I would say a solid, maybe like a solid B plus. But I don't know. I debated on seeing this again, honestly, but I'm like, no, Lindsay's not going to go see this again. She's going to want to go see something else. But she liked it as well. And there's a lot of, like it's not what you're expecting from it. I think a lot of people have some preconceived notions about what this movie might be, and it's not that. And it's great that it's Lee Whannell's movie outside of James Wan. He's kind of got something for himself under his belt. Not that he doesn't have anything right now, but it's kind of, a lot of people associate them together all the time, and he kind of has something to get him away from that, something of his own. And I think that's really cool. But there is one little part. It isn't spoilerish at all, but there is a part where it's a little Easter egg, and I don't think most people caught it at all. But I'm going to drop it here. It's nothing too crazy, but there's actually a part where the main character is looking at like a directory, and the name J. Wan pops up, and I hit Lindsay. I was like, dude, that's James Wan. She's like, oh, okay. And I thought that was a really cool nod, because obviously they've done so much stuff together, and they're great. They're both great directors, and I love James Wan. But it's really cool to see Lee Whannell do this one, on his own, get this under his belt. And it was, for doing it, for writing and directing it, and doing it outside of anything with James Wan, it's really good. And I look forward to seeing if because there's possibility for a sequel. They could do some more stuff with it. So I'm curious to see where it goes from here. But yeah, all in all, B plus. Liked it a lot.
That's
definitely
awesome,
going to have it on DVD.
I'm really keen to see it, actually. The lead's name is Logan Marshall Green.
Thank you.
Yeah, he was in Prometheus, Devil, Spider-Man, Homecoming, The Invitation. He's done a few things. I believe our friends over at LSG, when they covered Prometheus, they literally thought that this was Tom Hardy as well. I think they were calling him Shitty Tom Hardy from memory.
Shardy.
Shardy. There's also another podcast that I'd like to name drop here. The Movie Guys, off topic. So this is a podcast that's being run by a friend of mine, Jason. He went to the Sydney Film Festival, which is where Upgrade premiered, I believe, and Lee Whannell was there doing a Q&A. And they managed to film quite a bit of the Q&A with Lee Whannell. So what I'll do is when we put the photo and stuff up, I'll link to that podcast site, and if you're interested in having a look at that Q&A.
I love Q&As and shit like that.
It's really
That's
interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's really interesting because Lee Whannell says that a big inspiration for him was The Matrix, kind of doing the action sequences a bit like The Matrix and things like that. So I'm really excited to see it, man. It's definitely right up my alley. I would be lying though if I said that the trailers didn't made me think that it was generic. Because the trailers made it look kind of generic. I was just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it definitely suffers from that in some aspect, because it is like an action / revenge kind of movie. So like, there's just been so many of them that have been done to death. But it's really interesting seeing, you see Iron Man, who's the AI is at his disposal and it's always helping him out do stuff, and then you have this guy who he is solely dependent on the AI. It really is the thing that I mean, obviously you can read the premise. He's turned into a quadriplegic and then gets this thing. But it's really, without that thing, it's an interesting flip on it, because I feel like I haven't really seen something like that yet, where I was like, okay, somebody who's like totally dependent on the AI, or like, I mean, Iron Man is totally dependent on the suit, but at the same time it bends to his will. It's a totally different thing. So I thought it was interesting flipping the script on that for once and seeing it reversed.
Well, I think Iron Man 3 does a good job of showing that Stark is pretty good without the suit as well. Like the entire point of that movie is to remove the suit, and to show how good Stark is as an individual. So it's really good to see. Like, does Upgrade have any of that? Like, do you see kind of like his proficiency as well?
A little bit, like you said, kind of in the. He's a bit of a technophobe. The guy. I think
Right.
there's not a lot of nothing really like technologically. He's not like a hacker or does anything like that. The guy's like a mechanic or something. So it's like nothing. It's nothing really crazy. He's good with his hands, and really that's about it. So that's what kind of makes it an interesting pairing, because you've got somebody who is a technophobe and doesn't like the idea of robots, replacing jobs and stuff like that. And then to see them totally dependent on something just like that is what's really cool.
Yeah.
To have to
That's pretty cool.
to have to get over that. So that's a bit of it is a good character arc. But there's definitely like I said, there's definitely room for a sequel, just depending on how they want to take it. But yeah, definitely check it out.
Yeah, man, that sounds awesome. I'm really keen to see it. I think it released or is about to release here. I don't know. I think Matt saw it at the film festival as well. I'm not too sure.
Bastard.
But yeah, bastard. But yeah, he loves action flicks, man. Like that kid loves them. So. Yeah, man. Unless you have anything else to talk about Upgrade, I'll start on Hereditary.
Yeah, dude, you go right ahead. I'm good.
Badass. So Hereditary. This was a thing.
This was a movie with actors and a director.
This was a motion picture. But yeah, it was good. Bottom line, it was pretty fucking good. I definitely had to think on it a little bit. It was a lot heavier than I was expecting. Like heavy. I'm talking like probably the most heaviest horror movie in ages. And I'm not talking about scares and things like that. Like, those are in there. It's more like the themes. It's all about grief. Like, without going too much into spoilers, it's all about grief and moving past, the death of a loved one and things like that. So there's a lot of wrestling with your own emotions and all of that in it. It was very surreal movie. I need to think of a better word. It was very obscure.
Kind of like cerebral.
Like, yeah, it was a lot more cerebral than I was expecting. I was expecting kind of like an Insidious, Conjuring kind of thing. And you do get those kind of moments, with like with scares like that, but it goes a lot deeper. Like it I don't know. It's a really tough one to explain. Like
it kind of reminded me of, like, just visually from what I saw, and which I've never seen either of the movies, but The Mother. It just came out recently. Jennifer Lawrence, like, just in the way that it looks like a much older movie. Like it doesn't look like something that's like like Upgrade, where it looks like almost like a 70s style, like kind of horror, like Exorcist or Rosemary's Baby. Like there's something kind of, or like The Others with like Nicole Kidman. It kind of has that kind of like I don't know. I'm trying to think of the right. I'm struggling with the right word, but kind of
like vintage,
antique kind of like feel to it.
Yeah,
I totally. But that creeps me the fuck out, man. Like
that's definitely there. Yeah, it's definitely there. But I mean, like there are like modern elements, like there are cars and they use cell phones and shit like that. So, I don't. It was a really tough movie to get a grasp on. Let me talk about the performances. Toni Collette. Holy fucking shit. She's, I can tell you right now, she's going to be nominated for an Oscar, because she brings it, man. She was nominated for an Oscar for her role in Sixth Sense, and she goes absolutely above and beyond for this role, man. Like, she kills it. Your heart breaks with her. You can see the desperation in her face. Yeah, man. She's definitely the touchstone of this movie, and she's absolutely she's on fire. Like I would be absolutely devastated if she doesn't get nominated for an Oscar. She certainly did a lot more than Daniel Kaluuya in Get Out. who was nominated last year. But I mean, look, I liked his performance, but it was nothing compared to this.
Shots fired.
This is definitely yeah, shots fired. I know. But this is definitely probably the best female actress. Sorry, female actress. Jesus Christ, actress. The best actress performance of the year that I've seen so far. She's top notch. Someone else that I really wanted to commend as well was Alex Wolff, who plays her son in the movie. He's fucking awesome as well, man. This guy's he's a young bloke, and he plays this kid who makes mistakes, and he has to kind of own up to those mistakes, but he doesn't because he's young and naive, and oh my god, he plays it so well. Also, someone else who I haven't seen in ages, since The Usual Suspects, Gabriel Byrne is in this movie.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he plays the husband, and he's awesome too because he has to kind of bear the weight of, you know, watching his family's drama crash around him and shit like that. So it's a very understated performance, but it's still pretty damn good, man. But yeah, I was like, this guy looks familiar. This guy looks so familiar. And then like the name came up at the end, Gabriel Byrne, and I was like, holy shit, he's from Usual Suspects? Jesus.
Yeah, man, the Keaton, man, he's such a great character. But one thing I'm curious about, because one of my favorite Australian horror movies is Babadook, and it's the Babadook. It's so good. I love Babadook, but like, is there any kind of, because it seems like, not saying that these are the same movies or anything at all, but there does seem to be like a little bit of similarities between that kind of like, you have a mother and a child, and the dealing with grief and the death of somebody that you love. Like, how similar would you say that those movies are in like comparison?
Well, I haven't seen the Babadook.
Oh, what the fuck? You're Australian.
I know. It's on Netflix. And I keep hearing, I hear like critically the Babadook is amazing, and you just said yourself it's amazing. But I hear like other things that it's not as good. Like, I'll definitely watch it. You know what? I might fucking watch it tonight. I don't give a shit.
Well, you heard it here first. We're covering Babadook next. No, I'm just kidding.
Yep. Yep. Next feature presentation, guys. Yeah, no, look, I'll definitely check it out. But I think what I can compare this to in terms of scares and in terms of pure outright horror would probably be The Exorcist.
Oh, hell yeah, dude!
I know that's a big call.
That's a bold statement. That's a tall glass of water. That's a tall glass of milk, my friend.
That's a tall fucking order. But yeah, a lot of reviewers are saying that this is one of the scariest movies out there. I don't know. In terms of scares, like, it depends what scares you. And this has a lot of kind of everything. This has a couple of jump scares. This has my favorite kind of scare is the kind of scare where, you know, it's kind of like a visual kind of scare. So, for example, someone wakes up and, like, you know, the movie doesn't really point towards it, but there's something in the background and you can barely make it out.
Mm-hmm.
I love that kind of shit, man. I love that kind of shit. Like, where the movie just they don't focus on it. They don't even like play music to make it like seem like it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
The character in the foreground has no idea what's going on. They're just like kind of like oblivious to what's happening in the background. I love that shit.
Dude, one of my favorite, not to cut you off, like, if I don't say this, I will totally forget it. In the new It that's come out from Andy Muschietti, there's a, and obviously it's been out for a while. If you haven't seen it, go fuck yourself. But the thing's been out for like almost a year. But there's a scene where the character of Ben Hanscom, young Ben Hanscom, is flipping through this book in the library, and the picture, it just keeps being the same picture over and over again. But we went and saw it 2 nights in a row. We saw it one night, and then
same.
Okay,
literally the same.
Awesome. See, this is why we do a fucking podcast. But yeah, we if you watch in the background, the librarian who kind of like badgers him, she's like, "Shouldn't you be outside? It's summertime, blah blah blah." That same librarian, after she hands him the book and he starts flipping and all the pages start start coming towards him.
Her face.
She's in the background, dude. She turns and she's just like staring at him, but it's hardcore out of focus. Like, and I noticed it immediately because just a little trivia about myself. I fucking hate being stared at. Like, I can't. I've called people out for it before and just like, dude, stop fucking staring at me, man. Because I don't know what it is, man. Just about somebody just looking at you. I'm like, what can you possibly be thinking? Like, it drives me nuts. But seeing that librarian in the background just turn out of focus, and she's like smiling way too hard.
It looks like I thought she was kind of like growling, like without making any noises. Like, it was just kind of like, it was like a devil face, man.
Right.
Like that kind of...
Yeah, like, just like total, like, you know, incisors, just, you know, and face all scrunched out. And the first time we went and saw that, I noticed it, and I nudged Lindsay, and I was like, you know, did you see that? And she's like, nah, what are you talking about? Second night we go see it, I knew it was coming, so it was me, her, and my nephew. And I was like, dude, look over his shoulder, and both of them saw it, and they're like, what the fuck, man. Like, and I know that's so crazy that you say about that out of focus kind of scare, because that it's the thing that, because you're not paying attention to it, it makes it so much more terrifying, because it's like, hello, like, dude, like, turn around, like, you start feeling that kind of like tension.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Dude, there was one, like I said, I'm not going into spoilers, but there was one particular moment in this movie where that happened, and I've never had a moment like that in the cinema in my life, because I turned to my friend and I said, is that, I'm just like, it looks like there's something there, but I wasn't sure. And then, like, I kind of looked at it a little more. You know, when you wake up, right, at night, and your eyes kind of like get adjusted to the dark, so you can kind of make things out in your room, like it's because, you know what I mean? That's kind of what happened. Like, the longer I stared at it, like, the more I could see it. So I was just like, holy fucking shit, there is something there. And what was there was absolutely horrifying. Like, they played that really well. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, man, the movie definitely has those kind of really eerie moments. There's also some brutal violence in it.
Hell yeah.
If that's what scares you. Like I said, man, they cover the field with scares. So there's a lot of that shit in it. And also, if you've ever, not to get too dark, but if you've ever lost a loved one, then this movie definitely plays on those fears as well. So, yeah, look, it's definitely a great movie. It's very, like I said, it's very obscure. You know, and it does take a little time to get going. Like, there are some moments in the movie, like long stretches, where there's a lot of build up. I'm not too sure if I'm too satisfied by the way it ended. I still need to kind of unpack that in my head a little bit. But it's definitely a very heavy movie. Like, you don't want to watch this when you're upset, because it's heavy. And it will absolutely weigh down on you. But look, Hereditary is great. Is it the most scariest movie I've ever seen in my life? It's up there.
For real?
It's definitely up. Yeah, it's definitely up there. Like, the more I think about it, the scarier it gets. So, it's not one of those movies where you walk out of the cinema and you're like, oh no, that wasn't the scariest. But the more you think about it, then the scarier it gets. So, if you were disappointed when you're walking out of the cinema, I completely understand. But think about it, read about it, and you'll appreciate it a bit more. Like, don't just palm it off because you don't understand it.
Give it a second try.
Yeah, give it a fair shake, you know. But yeah, man, it was good. If I had to rate it, I'd give it a high 8. Yeah, I tend to rate things pretty generously, so take that as you will. It had a couple problems, like I said, just some pacing issues and things like that. I mean, this is a 2 hours and 10 minute long horror movie, which is long. Like, when you talk about kind of haunted house movies and things like that, they usually only like hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So this is pretty long, and I did kind of feel it. So yeah, man, that's Hereditary.
Excellent, dude. That sounds awesome. Like, we were just talking about, you know, oh yeah, well, you know, because I've got the morning off. I never have mornings off. I always work mornings, but I actually work like a short shift tomorrow night. So like, man, we need to go, you know, get lunch and go see something. And what do you want to see? I was like, Hereditary. It's like the first thing I said, I was like, Hereditary. That's what I want to see. but yeah, and it seems like something that's like right up my alley. I've always just had like an affinity for like Australian film and music and stuff like that. Like any time that we would be listening to a band, me and my friends, or we'd be like, oh, where's this band from? Oh, like, oh, of course they're from fucking Australia. Oh, who's that director? Oh, of course he's from fucking Australia. Like there seems to be such a big like upsurge of that, and I'm in the fucking I'm literally middle Tennessee, and there's like I'm hearing about bands and movies and directors and artists from Australia. So it's awesome to see that kind of like seeping into the culture.
See, that's awesome, man. That you feel that, because I mean, okay, one of my other degrees in communications, and like I majored in media arts production, which is like filmmaking and shit like that. Basically, what Matt did before he got his masters. So, I kind of like felt, and like I have a lot of friends who are in the industry, right? So, I kind of feel their hesitation of breaking out. Like not hesitation, but it's tough. It's tough, especially in Australia when you're so far from the hub of filmmaking, which is LA. It's tough. It's tough to break out. And I think the Australian movie industry is growing. We do have our pioneers. Look, I don't want to say Mel Gibson, but I mean, come on, he directed Hacksaw Ridge and Apocalypto and fucking Passion of the Christ. He's a great director.
Fucking
As
Braveheart.
A person, I don't know.
Yeah,
fucking Braveheart. Jesus Christ, how did I forget about
right.
that?
As a person, you don't want to admit it, but it's like, okay, yes, you make good films, but you're still a fucking asshole. Like,
right, exactly. I was talking about the same thing the other day to my dad. We were watching. I've been going down a Scientology rabbit hole.
Oh God.
I watched this documentary on Netflix called Going Clear, and they talked about Tom Cruise, and I'm just like, oh, Tom Cruise, man, he puts 100% in on his movies, but as a person, I don't really rate him.
Right.
But I guess it's important to kind of separate your personal life from your art, especially when you're viewing an actor. But look, that's neither here nor there, man. The Australian film industry, like I was saying, I don't think... from where I sit, which is obviously in Australia, it doesn't seem like it's too big, but I like getting your perspective on it, because you're, like you said, you're all the way in Tennessee, so you can have a different view on it. And it's crazy, man. It's crazy that people like Lee Winnell, who went to university here in Australia, has broken out, and you saw a movie of his that before I did.
Oh yeah, dude, I saw this trailer and I was like, I've got to see that movie. That looks like something right up my alley, and it totally was. Like I said, I definitely want to own it. And there's actually before I forget, there's another movie too that's coming out that looks really badass called Kin, Kin. I'm not 100% sure of like what the whole synopsis is, but just from the trailer that I saw, it's definitely a sci-fi film. It's definitely got like it's got.
I'm looking at it now. It sounds interesting.
It's got Zoe Kravitz, Dennis Quaid, James Franco in it, and it's set to come out just says sometimes in 2018. But the synopsis is: a released ex-con and his younger brother, who are forced to go on the run from a vengeful criminal and a pair of otherworldly soldiers, have to defend themselves by using a mysterious weapon of unknown origin. And I saw this trailer for Ken right when I saw the one for Upgrade, and like this was just something really quick that I wanted to touch on, because it's like, I honestly believe that the future of a lot of movies belongs to sci-fi. I know, like, there is like a huge resurgence of sci-fi now. I feel like there was Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams on Amazon, then we finally got a fucking sequel to Blade Runner,
a good one.
A good one. Yeah, and with seeing like Upgrade and then Ken come out, there seems to be like a lot of like push towards sci-fi, and a lot of, you can even consider like Her sci-fi. It's kind of like science fiction in a way. Like, it's what the future would be like with certain kinds of technology kind of sprinkled in, and we're kind of asking ourselves some questions now about AI and what do we consider to be alive, or or blah blah blah. blah, and we're definitely seeing a reflection of that in our culture, and especially in our pop culture and in our films. Like of course, like I've said multiple times, I'm a big fan of Fallout 4, and one of those, one of the whole things about that is helping a railroad of people who are called synths, and they're basically synthetic humans, but they're replicants, and it was a huge part of Fallout 4, which is just a big sci-fi orgy in itself, but so much stuff is going in the direction of sci-fi now, and it's great because I feel like sci-fi at first has gotten this kind of hokey kind of like the Sci-Fi Channel, they do like Sharknado and and shit like that, and it kind of gets a bad rap, but sci-fi can be, like Futurama, like Futurama I think is one of the best TV shows that was ever I think Futurama is better than The Simpsons, honestly, but it's just so good in terms of sci-fi.
How dare you?
Yeah, right. How dare you like a show better, even though it's created by the same fucking person?
Yeah.
But I really think that the whole future of stuff belongs to sci-fi, because we're living in a lot of those moments now.
Dude, there are stories that you can tell in the science fiction genre that you can't tell in any other genre. Take Blade Runner, take Ex Machina. You can't talk about the sentience of artificial intelligence and things like that in other genres. Like, that fascinates the hell out of me. Like,
Right, you need to have something to challenge your own, like, existentialism, something to kind of compare it to. But either way, yeah. Do you want to jump into the news, or you got anything else you want to talk about?
No, dude. Go see Hereditary. That's all I gotta say.
Word. Yeah, I definitely am. As soon as I get out of here, I'll probably go buy her tickets. But yeah, the first bit of news that I've got, if you don't have anything you want to jump on, this is huge, man. I don't know if you've heard about this yet, but Al Pacino has signed on for Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Fuck you. It's always like, sometimes it's fun to see who can like get to this first and like, because I love blowing your mind with this shit. But the movie's already got fucking Brad Pitt, Burt Reynolds, Kurt Russell, Michael Madsen, Tim Roth, Damian Lewis, Luke Perry, Margot Robbie. There's Dakota Fanning. I mean, the movie already has so many people, and I thought that this is strictly going to be based on the Manson murders. I think that it's kind of. I don't think that's what's going on. I know Margot Robbie is playing Sharon Tate, so I'm sure it's going to be unavoidable. But I don't know. The plot of it is not about Leonardo DiCaprio as Manson, which I totally thought was going to. All you hear is they're making a Manson movie. DiCaprio's attached, and I was like, you know what, I'm okay with that. I would be okay with DiCaprio playing Manson, but I, especially with him, with Manson just dying this year, I'm kind of happy that they don't give somebody like that, oh yeah, this guy's a psychopath, so let's make a movie about him. Don't give him that day in the sun, but at the same time, not ignoring the events of what's happened, because it's set in, I think, the summer of '69 in California, and apparently DiCaprio is an old Western star, Brad Pitt is a stunt double, and they're trying to find their way in this ever-changing landscape and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, super excited to hear that Al Pacino is going to be joining that. Apparently he's going to be playing DiCaprio's agent. And this is, Tarantino, man, fucking worked with John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, Michael Keaton, James,
the best of the best.
Jamie Foxx. I mean, literally the actors that the guy, say what you want about his movies, but goddamn, the people that he puts in them are just perfect, dude. I mean, and his movies have exploded some people, like Steve Buscemi and Tim Roth, and John Travolta's career was in the fucking toilet before Pulp Fiction came along. So, like,
dude, I'm 100% on board for anything that Quentin Tarantino puts out, man. Like, I will buy a ticket now if I could.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Like, there's not. I still haven't seen Hateful Eight. I need to watch it. I even had a friend let me borrow it for like 2 weeks. I never watched it. But I because I actually do enjoy plays, and I do like seeing like plays that take place in one kind of area, and I've heard that's very similar to this. So I definitely want to see it. It's on Netflix. I've just been stuck watching fucking Monster Squad and shit, and Shawshank, and Bob's Burgers. But yeah, I'm super excited that Pacino has come on, because again, it's another person kind of like John Travolta in the early '90s. Pacino has kind of he's kind of sliding off a little bit, man. I hate to say it, but he was in that god awful Adam Sandler movie.
He was in Jack and Jill.
Yes, dude.
Yeah.
See, this is why we do a fucking podcast, because you and I both jumped to fucking Jack and Jill. And and he even had somewhat of a resurgence in the '90s, with Devil's Advocate and Any Given Sunday and
Heat.
Yeah, and Heat. But just recently, like with Righteous Kill, even with De Niro, I was like, dude, this movie didn't need to be made. You guys are not action stars anymore. You guys were pushing it, in the early '90s doing this stuff, because you're stars from the '70s and you're 40 years old doing this. But I'm definitely excited to see Pacino come back. I hope this will. I don't know. I hope this is just kind of something that he goes out on. I wouldn't. I'm sure he's going to keep working, but it's good. I think this. I don't know how old he is, and I'm sure he's not going to act up until the day that he dies. But I hope, and I'm almost positive this will be like the last good Pacino movie, because he's just made so many terrible ones so far as his career has gone on. And of course, over the length of a career, the probability of movies being bad, it just goes up higher and higher by the more that you do. But it seems like Tarantino just has this magic with taking people whose careers are kind of and then boosting them back up to that place, which I thought was really cool. Kind of the same thing with Michael Keaton and Jackie Brown, and I love that. I hate that Michael Keaton hasn't been in a Tarantino movie since, because he's one of my favorite actors. But I tell you, the only person that I really, really, really have always wanted Tarantino to put in one of his movies is Lance Henriksen.
Good
dude,
call.
and it fucking pisses me off.
Bishop himself.
Do what?
Bishop himself.
Yeah, right. And like I love Lance Henriksen, another one of my favorite actors. But yeah, I feel like he kind of goes in that category of like Christopher Walken, Jeff Goldblum, kind of like weirdness, eccentric. Like Lance Henriksen, I don't feel like has gotten his day in the sun, and he's so good. I would love to see him in something Tarantino.
Whoa. No one is in the same category of weirdness than Jeff Goldblum.
It's true, dude. No, hold on. It goes like, first of all, like if you're talking about actors, quirky, everything aside, the king of that quirk is Walken. Is fucking Christopher. So a guy came into a store to buy shoes. Like there's this.
This watch was stuck up his ass.
Dude, I had that monologue memorized at one point, but he's the king. He's the king of that kind of like quirk, and I love that kind of this watch. Like he's so good. But Goldblum is not far behind it in a way of like those guys are just great at being themselves in any role that they are. But I feel life finds a way. Interesting little trivia about Christopher Walken. Do you know why he talks like that?
No.
Apparently, he said that both of his parents are immigrants. I'm not 100% sure from where, but they would pause because they apparently, I don't, whatever his native language is, I'm not 100% sure if he speaks. I'm not 100% sure if he speaks it at all, but I know that they spoke to him in English, and their words they would try and search because they were translating. They were trying to translate stuff in their heads.
Yep.
So they always had.
So it's kind of broken.
Right, that broken kind of talk. But it really it's that's Christopher Walken's another one of my favorite actors. Anybody who's got that kind of like quirk to him, that kind of charm is just great. But there's no. You're right. Jeff Goldblum is like, whereas Christopher Walken's like the crazy kind of like I don't know. He's like a cat guy. I don't know how to describe it. Like just tap dancing jazz like. Yeah, he's like just this like awesome jazz like scat man kind of thing. You've got Goldblum, who's like this like sexy, suave kind of like smooth as butter kind of shit going on. And because dude, for years, I didn't see Jurassic Park until we did it for the first episode. Hadn't seen it in like 15 years, but I always saw the meme of Goldblum with like the shirt open and stuff, and I was like, God, that's got to be from some movie early on in his career. And I was like, Jeff Goldblum chest hair. But I totally
Porn.
but I totally thought that was something from his earlier. I was like, nah, this guy. And I was like, oh my god, this is in Jurassic Park. Like, what the fuck?
Yep. Yep.
But either way, off my weird, quirky actor tangent. Just kind of moving on. The other thing that I'm really excited about is the Watchmen TV show that's going to be happening on HBO.
Yep. Right, there's some controversy about that, right?
Oh no, I just heard some casting things, but I haven't heard any. I mean, I've heard some things about how they're not going to. It's not a direct adaptation. But what have you heard?
That's the controversy.
Okay, cool. Yeah, of course. That when you say controversy, I'm like, oh shit, like something crazy has happened. But like the comic book fans are like, oh, it's a slight deviation. Fuck them. It's they just
it's not the same.
It's got to be strictly to the source material. Oh my god, dude, and like. My girlfriend Lindsay, who you guys have heard so much on the show, she just finished reading Watchmen over this her first week of the summer break. She's a teacher, so she's been reading Watchmen. A couple of students gave her a list of the comic books that she was supposed to read, and number one with a bullet was Watchmen. These kids are like big comic book fans, and she read it and just loved it. But there's still I mean, come on, look at Zack Snyder's. That's not... He changed the entire ending of that. And I honestly think Zack Snyder's ending is better than the graphic novel. It makes more sense with what's going on in the political state of things. So, like, to get away from that is not the worst thing in the world. But I don't know how far away this is supposed to be getting away from it. I think they said that it's more... I don't even know if it's actually set... I don't think that this actually set in the world of Watchmen. I think it's set like years later on. I'm not 100% sure, but their cast is fucking crazy. But they've got Don Johnson signed on. So far.
I saw that.
Fucking Don Johnson, Regina King, Tim Blake Nelson, Louis Gossett Jr., Andrew Howard, Adelaide Clemens. There's so many people already attached to it. I love Tim Blake Nelson. He's great in everything. He Leaves the Grass, Holes, Oh Brother Where Art Thou. The guy's in so much.
Holes.
Yeah,
fuck.
Dude, I love Holes. I read that book when I was a kid.
I love Holes too. I'm looking at the book right now. I fucking read that shit in year 5.
Yeah, it's so good, man. And he's great in that. He's great in so many movies. And I'm really curious because the first thing I thought was, is he Rorschach? Like, is Tim Blake Nelson Rorschach? Because that's the only... I mean, he's obviously not Night Owl. He's not going to be Dr. Manhattan. I was like, is he Rorschach? Like, but there's not a lot. They've kept it pretty down. Like, they've kept the, things like wrapped up in it. But, I mean, what do you think about staying, like, moving away from the source material? Do you think that that's way too... do you think that they should move away from it? Or, because Snyder's was so close to the source material, do we really need to see that over again? Like, what do you think?
100%. I mean, I think 100% they should do their own thing. Take the characters or the world as inspiration and do your own thing. Like you said, we've already seen The Watchmen done faithfully. Well, I mean, a lot of people were pretty pissed about that movie because it was too faithful or something like that. I don't know.
Fuck them.
Yeah, fuck him. I thought it was a great movie, man. That movie is fucking fantastic.
Right. And this is exactly what we're talking about, like, people freaking out because they're moving away from it, and then they freak out because it's too close. It's like, fuck you, man.
Exactly. Like, I know. It's like, I don't know what more you want. But man, look, I'm on board. I'll fucking watch it for sure. It's HBO, and it's also Damon Lindelof, who... he's done a bunch of good shit. He did The Leftovers for one. That show was amazing. So yeah, man. I'm definitely on board. Anytime they move away from source material, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't, because this is someone else's interpretation of something. Like, that's what film is. That's what art is. It's all about interpretation. So I definitely look forward to someone else's take on something,
Yeah, absolutely. There's no reason why, it's interesting. It's kind of, people freaked out when they did the prequel comics. They're called Before Watchmen, and they're all really good. I read all of them. When you buy one, it's a 2-part thing. So one of them was like Night Owl and Rorschach. The other one was like, Dr. Manhattan and Silk Spectre. Like you got 2 books in one, and they were excellent, especially the one with Dr. Manhattan. It was really, really, really good. And it kind of becomes a thing of, and I know Alan Moore is like notoriously bad about people, making films out of his stuff or doing anything. I don't think he's seen anything after League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and he won't take money for them. Like his name isn't anywhere on the credits. Like he won't have anything to do with them.
I will defend the League.
Oh, really? I haven't seen that in years. My dad liked it, but I never. I
used to love that as a kid, man. I guarantee I probably still love it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of literary characters. It's cool to have those kind of characters from famous, like somewhat English, like literature. And I think that's really cool because they are basically the comic book heroes before comic books. You have Captain Ahab and Tom Sawyer and the Bride of Dracula and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. That's really interesting. But Alan Moore said that he actually read the script for Watchmen that Zack Snyder did, and he was like, "Well, that's as close as they're going to get." And I was like, "Okay, well, I guess that's as good as you're going to get from Alan Moore." But he was, but at the same time, he and Dave Gibbons were unceremoniously fucked out of their shit for Watchmen. Basically, the agreement was with DC Comics or Warner Brothers or whoever, that when they stopped printing Watchmen, that the rights would revert back to Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, but they've never stopped printing it. It became such a success. It became so big that it's like in the Times #1 best novel or Times top 100 best novels. It never stopped being printed, and he was like, he ceased all work with DC and Warner Brothers and went to Vertigo Comics and like never did anything with them again. That's just kind of, unfortunately, that seems to be kind of the attitude in the comic book industry against artists like Steve Ditko and Jack Kirby and Bill Finger. A lot of them get just fucked over. There's a really, really good documentary on
Bill Finger.
Yeah, Bill. I always say Bill Finger got fingered, but he was notoriously. I mean, Bill Finger created fucking Batman, and he got ripped out of all of it, man. And it's a great documentary called Bill and Batman, or Batman and Bill. I'm not 100% sure, but it's on Hulu, and it was really great. We watched it, and it was. It gets emotional, man. That guy died. Just on his couch watching TV, in a 1-bedroom apartment, while Bob Kane, lived in this huge mansion. And fuck Bob Kane for one thing. That guy is such an asshole. But comic books are just notoriously like that. But I'm super excited to see this. I'm not like. Yeah, because I do like seeing the deviation from the source material, but at the same time, like if it becomes too much of a deviation, where you kind of end up losing what Watchmen is really about, and that's the only reason why we're really showing up is we're not showing up. I don't want to see a Dr. Manhattan solo movie where he goes and has a Captain America kind of adventure, and fights a bad guy at the end and all that jazz. It was great because it was kind of an existential thing about superheroes, and a really like kind of like a psychiatric look at superheroes and how you
right. I think it's important to, if you do deviate, you should stick to the themes and what the source material is true to, without completely following the source material.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, do you have any news or anything you wanna talk about at all? I've got one more thing, but I figured I've been talking forever, so I'd give you the floor.
Oh, okay. Well, I got one. I got a couple, but I'll go with one, then you can go with one, and we'll close on the last one because I think the last one is gonna have a little bit of a conversation. So I don't know. I don't think I agree with this. Okay, so Suicide Squad star Jared Leto is getting a Joker spin-off of his very own.
Don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I don't know. By the way, there are currently now 2 separate Joker films in development at DC. There is one that's a lot more exciting. It's being directed by the Hangover director Todd Phillips. It doesn't have anyone in the lead yet, but apparently Joaquin Phoenix is in talks to play the Joker. It's going to be an origin story, and the big thing is that it's going to be produced by Martin Scorsese. So I'd fucking love to see that, actually. But I don't know what's going on over at DC. I don't know why they have two separate Joker movies coming out. Um, it's strange, man. It's just
Yeah,
weird.
it's very odd, and Suicide Squad was not that successful to warrant A, a sequel, or B, a spinoff. Um,
It's getting both.
I know, and that's what's fucking blowing my mind. Is like, it's honestly shit like Suicide Squad that honestly gives the superhero genre a bad name, and people are
Exactly.
oh, these are cash cows, and you guys are just cashing in. Yeah, you're right, but that's not like everything, you know.
Look, lately I've been taking the philosophy of I'm not one of those I'm not one of those people who are like, why does this exist? Solo definitely solidified that for me. Everyone was like, why does this exist? When I watched it, and I was like, this is fucking great. I don't care that this exists. It's a thing. It's deal with it, you know. I trolled William Alvarez in our comments the other day. We were talking about Halloween, how it's getting a sequel, and he's like, why does this exist? I'm like, it's here. Deal with it.
Yeah.
So
Somebody wanted it.
Right, exactly. So when this comes out eventually, I'll watch it, and I won't have the why does this exist kind of thing mentality to it, but I'll still be wondering why are there two different Joker films with two different Joker leads at the same time from the same studio.
Right, and I will. I accept your challenge because I will become the why does this exist guy for this movie. Why does this exist? It doesn't. I literally just said it wasn't a good enough movie to support either one of these, and that's subjective. I get it. That is subjective, but. I think honestly, it's one of the few times that the critics of things have been pretty right on it. It's either the worst thing that's ever been made, or it's the best movie of all time. Which nothing can ever just fly in at a steady. Yeah, it was good. But Suicide Squad is one of those. No, that's really terrible. It's like no, that's
right.
That's really not good. And when I dislocated my knee, here a few months ago, of course I wasn't going anywhere, so I watched Suicide Squad, and I was just bored to death. It's like, oh my god, like if I could get up off my couch right now with my broken knee and walk off, I would do it, but I fucking can't. And it was awful.
Dude, I still think it's better than Justice League.
Really? See, and I haven't seen Justice League yet though. But because I've looked up just scenes on YouTube, because I was like, I'm just kind of curious. I'm just going to look it up. From what I've seen, fuck no. Like, I think Justice League looks a lot better, but I haven't seen it all the way through. Just from what I've seen, I think I would like.
I think I'm in the minority there, but I couldn't deal with Justice League.
I understand though. I think that's a movie that had it stayed its original course, it would have been better, but still maybe not that much great. I think there was just a lot of changes and directors and things changing hands, and that's very tricky to do. And then there's the whole mustache gate thing, and oh my god,
oh boy,
yeah. But no, Jared Leto's a fine actor. He's a good musician. But he does not need to be the Joker. He is a modern day attempt to cash in on the kind of residual effects left over of Heath Ledger's Joker. Right.
Yeah.
It is I think it's honestly really cheap, and and they've tried to. I don't know. It's kind of like those memes where it's like, "Hey, let me see your homework and change it just enough to where they won't notice it." And it's like, when you look at Jack Nicholson's and then you look at Heath Ledger's, there's like a 28-year gap, or 20-year yeah, because Batman came out in '89 and Dark Knight came out in 20-year gap. Sorry, I don't know what I said, but yeah, there's a huge 20-year gap, from 2008 2009, and then we get when did Suicide Squad come out? Like 2015. It's like we.
Oh no! Oh, sorry. I want to say 2016. Sorry.
Yeah, but still, I mean, not even under a decade later, barely. We've got we've got something coming out. 5, 6, 7 years later. That's subpar, and I think that it's different with Batman because with Batman, I hate to say it, a lot of people can step into those shoes and probably pull it off. I think it's a lot easier to play Batman than the Joker, but I think that Ben Affleck does do a good job. I like that version of Batman because I'm a fan of those kind of the Frank Miller gritty boxer brawler type of Batman.
The Dark Knight Returns.
Totally, yeah. I'm a big fan of that kind of Batman, but I am there's something about Heath Ledger's Joker that's just it's trying to be too. It's trying to be too cool. It's trying to be too like
right. He's trying way too hard.
Right.
Like I think there's these characters. They're both Batman and the Joker. They're going to be around forever, I think, until the day we die. They're just too ingrained in popular culture. They're not going anywhere. The Joker, to me, is one of the most memorable villains this side of Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
He's fucking incredible. He's just totally unhinged. He's all about chaos. He's all about randomness. He's the mirror image to Batman, so he's always going to exist. So I don't really mind that someone, that he pops up, pretty recently after the Dark Knight, but make it good, make it something different, and don't try too hard. Like what's his name was Jared Leto,
right? Yeah, because you're just pandering at that point. Like speaking of iconic clowns, Pennywise, from It. I did like the new movie, and I definitely am looking forward to the sequel, and I am a big Stephen King fan, but Tim Curry is still better. Like Tim Curry is better because of kind of in the same way that with Bill Skarsgård's performance, he's trying too hard. Like not Bill Skarsgård, but the way the character is set up, he's trying way too hard to scare these kids, and with everything is him running at the camera and just this like really shaky camera work and fucked up frame rates, and it doesn't. It's kind of well, not necessarily style over substance, but like we see with Tim Curry the quality of that over the quantity of it. Bill Skarsgård is way more present than Tim Curry is in the I feel like he's way more present, and there's in the fact that there's actually like at the end of it there's actually like a physical fight with him, and that would with Tim Curry it wasn't really like that. They only shared a few scenes with him, but just from seeing Tim Curry's performance, that was way more terrifying. There was something about him that was so much scary because he wasn't really trying, wasn't really pushing himself so hard, the way Jack Nicholson did. Jack Nicholson, just found a rhythm and just stuck with it. He didn't really care if it scared you or not. Like, if I believe it enough, if I believe in myself enough, I can pull this off. And I think that Jared Leto just seems very kind of, I don't know, he's like a MySpace version of Joker. Like with just all the grill and the gangster tattoos and all of the shit. And I was like, I just don't like this. I'm not a fan of this. I feel like it's very dated. It's very dated. Whereas Heath Ledger's could be timeless and Jack Nicholson's will be timeless. But, Jared Leto seems very like, oh yeah, that's that guy that we dated after we broke up with our main, thing. And we don't really talk about that guy. I don't really want to talk about that. It was a bad time. It's like, it's kind of something like that. Because it's like a fling and it's over with. And I think that it sucks because Jared Leto is a good actor and the Joker is a great character and they could do so much more, but it's just sucks. They just never do anything. DC just can't fucking do anything right, dude. I just don't get it. Like Wonder Woman was good. I'll give you that. But it's not enough to save them. Man of Steel was good, not enough to save them from from what I saw in Batman versus Superman, and and you see what Marvel's doing. It's not impossible with DC characters. Look at the Dark Knight trilogy. It's not impossible to do that. My dream movie is Christopher Nolan with maybe Zack Snyder producing and doing The Dark Knight Returns, because that would just be a knockout movie, and not even with Christian Bale, do it with somebody else, but somehow Nolan has cracked that code with Batman and those characters, and I think that my dream choice would have probably been Christopher Nolan to do Justice League, but it sucks that we ended up having two other Titanic directors, and it still somehow just from what you said doesn't really own up. And I know even from just a few scenes that I've seen, it's not going to be the first Avengers movie, which is great. I love the first Avengers movie, and I haven't even seen most comic book films.
It's amazing,
and it's great. It's fucking great. I went and saw it twice in the theaters. I got it on my DVD rack right now. But either way,
I saw it 4 times.
Goddamn. but either way, there just doesn't need to be a Jared Leto Joker. I do fall into the camp of why the fuck does this exist? Like, this is unnecessary, and you're milking a tit that's already just dry. You're just it's kind of the same thing with Bumblebee. The Transformer stuff. It's like, dude, it's just getting ridiculous. I don't want to see this anymore. It just kind of gets dumb after a while. But that's me. I'm a narcissistic asshole, and I'll be here all night.
Badass. All right. What's your next piece of news?
Really on to snap myself out of that, get the horrible taste of that Joker news out of my mouth.
Yeah. Goggle that shit.
Yeah. The remake of Pet Sematary is looking great. As we posted, they've got they've got John Lithgow cast as the Judd Crandall, the next door neighbor. Have you ever seen the original, or have you ever read the book?
Yeah, I was just gonna pull you in real close and just whisper in your ear. Haven't seen the original.
Well, fuck you. No,
I know.
It's pretty good, man. It doesn't really hold up that great, but if you caught it when you were young, you're gonna have nostalgia for it. And it holds up. There's still some parts of the original that are just absolutely terrifying, and obviously dealing with the loss of a kid, that whole thing is very heavy. But yeah, it's got Kevin Kolsch and Dennis Widmeyer. I think Widmeyer. They're going to be the ones directing it. But Jason Clarke from Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is playing. He's
Australia.
Yes, he's playing Lewis Creed, who was originally played by Del Midkiff in the original one. And then just the other day they announced that Amy Seimetz. I'm not 100%. Amy Seimetz, she's from Alien Covenant. She's been in a bunch of shit. She was actually Eleven's aunt in season 2 of Stranger Things. Cool. So she's going to be playing the role of Rachel Creed. She's obviously married to Lewis Creed, and she was originally played by Denise Crosby in the '89 version, Bing Crosby's daughter. She was on a bunch of Star Trek shit. But I'm very curious to see how this movie's going to turn out. She's been in a lot of stuff like You're Next and Alien Covenant and Stranger Things. So I'm not sure. They don't really have a release date for it yet. I believe they're still filming. But this is again talking about things going up to sci-fi. It's really been a great kind of, except for The Dark Tower, it's really been a great few years for Stephen King. You've got 1922 coming out, Gerald's Game, It. Now we've got Pet Sematary, doing the Castle Rock TV show. And, you did have Dark Tower, and apparently that didn't do great. But it's been a really, really good year for Stephen King, and I hope that this follows the trend of that. And I hope it doesn't fall, because Pet Sematary is a great story about grief and losing someone that you love, and what degree would you go to bring that person back. Which I think are all really, really great. It's kind of like a lot of the same things that we touched on in The Void, with where is that line where it just becomes too much, and who's to say where that line is? If you're someone from the outside looking in telling you how to grieve, it becomes such a very touchy kind of thing. And Pet Sematary, the book does them really well. but the original movie is okay. You know, it hasn't really held up, but there's definitely some terrifying parts to it. Fred Gwynn is the best part of the original one. He absolutely crushes it. Herman Munster, but he absolutely does such a great job. But John Lithgow is a fucking great actor. He's in so much stuff. Dexter, Cliffhanger, Footloose, Raising Cain, Third Rock from the Sun. The guy's been in so much stuff, and he is a really, really good actor. He was in the first film of the Planet of the Apes trilogy. And I'm really excited to see what he can do because I've always, grew up watching that guy in so much stuff. So I'm curious to see how it's going out. And just pulled it up. Stephen King adaptation will hit theaters April 5th, 2019. So yeah, got a little ways to wait for it, but you know what? I am totally fucking fine with that because it's shaping up to be something really cool. So I'm definitely excited about it.
It's badass, man. I'm definitely keen. I'm not that big of a Stephen King fan as you are, but I've obviously definitely dabbled into it. Come on, dude, how can you hate Shawshank? How can you hate Misery?
The Mist,
like those, yeah, fucking The Mist. Was The Green Mile his as well?
Yeah, totally.
That's fucking awesome.
Actually,
man.
directed by the same guy who directed Shawshank.
Yeah. Frank Darabont. Frank Darabont.
And he did The Mist. Right? Yeah, fuck. And he did the first season of Walking Dead. Fuck.
Yeah, he loves it. But yeah, man, I'm definitely keen. Did you have any more news?
No, man, that's pretty much it. I think I've talked enough.
Come on, man. You know I love hearing your voice.
Yeah.
All right. I've got one more. This one I'd like to have a little conversation about it because I think it's important. We cover movies for fun, right? And movies are fun. Like, movies are entertainment. They're not supposed to change your life. So I just wanted to talk about this. Kelly Marie Tran, who played Rose Tico from The Last Jedi, she deleted her social media account because she was being harassed by Star Wars fans. And I just think that's wrong, man. She was getting like death threats and things like that.
Jesus.
I don't know, man. Like,
over what?
Well, there was a lot of backlash over Rose as a character. Let me just read you a little article here. So, Rose Tico is a new and original Star Wars character created by acclaimed writer-director Rian Johnson. She appeared in The Last Jedi and was received positively by most people. Unfortunately, a vocal minority of Star Wars fans hate the fictional character of Rose so much that they have been harassing and sending death threats to the actress who portrays her, Kelly Marie Tran. This harassment was so rampant and disgusting that it forced Tran to delete all of her social media posts on Instagram. She received several racist and sexist comments and messages from trolls and obsessed haters. Tran's Instagram account is still live, but there are no longer any posts. There is only a bio line that says, afraid but doing it anyway. Rose was the very first female Asian character to be featured in a Star Wars film. Most audience members and members of the Asian American community enjoyed Rose as a character. Nevertheless, trolls came to the attack with abusive comments and death threats. I got a quote from Rian Johnson here as well regarding that. On social media, a few unhealthy people can cast a big shadow on the wall, but over the past 4 years, I've met lots of real fellow Star Wars fans. We like and dislike stuff, but we do it with humor, love, and respect. We're the vast majority. We're having fun and doing just fine. I think it's wrong, dude. I think it's wrong to call out a actor, someone who's just doing their job, because of a character you don't like in a movie.
Nah, I disagree, fucker. No, I'm just kidding. No, I haven't seen Last Jedi. I haven't seen Force Awakens. But either way, it's a fucking character in a goddamn movie, dude. Like,
exactly.
Like, there's no reason to go all misery fucking Annie Bates on somebody because you have a problem with the character. I mean, it's just kind of like the whole thing with Jar Jar Binks and the Phantom Menace. You know, I don't know if it's that level of like, because again, I haven't seen the movie.
No, of course it's not. Of course it's not. No one is as bad as Jar Jar.
Right.
Blame the character, don't blame the actress.
Right, exactly. And that's kind of what I'm saying is like people get so bent out of shape in their fandom, and it becomes people. I think that people sometimes, it's kind of like with your favorite sports teams or with stuff like that. People can get to that level of like, I don't know, just tribalism of just like, no, I'm in this camp and you're in this camp, and it just gets crazy. And well, like you said, that is a vocal minority of people. I can't speak for her. I can really only like speak for myself. If it were myself personally, like there's no way that I could let people like that ruin things for me to a point that I would, delete social media off it. I'm saying that outside of the situation, so I can't really. Yeah, can I really say that? No, but from working, I've never had death threats leveled at me, but I've had plenty of conversations with people that got extremely. I work in a restaurant, so plenty of, hey, do you want to fucking go outside? Like, come the fuck on. Like, I've had plenty of confrontations like that with people. But I'm not saying, oh, I'm just this like super thick-skinned kind of guy, but you do have a thick skin to that after a while, and I don't know if I could personally let somebody, I think of it in some way of like somebody coming and giving us a bad review, or leveling at us like death threats over, our podcast or whatever. Would that make me stop doing the show? Like would that make me stop? I'm not saying she stopped acting, or would I stop our social media because of it? It's like, no, man, I mean, because for me, it's just, there is a level of, and I can't say this without sounding like some kind of just awful monster, but there is kind of, you do have to be prepared in some degree for people who are, even if you didn't do anything wrong, even if you never, and I'm not saying that she did, but even if you did nothing wrong and your character was fucking great and you were the main character and you were so fucking good, somebody is going to level that shit at you inevitably. The probability of being in a movie and billions of people see you, the probability of somebody of coming out like that is high. And I'm not saying, oh yeah, you should have known that going into it, you should be prepared, but to some level, unfortunately, that's the day and age that we live in. Like, there are going to be people who are going to, especially Star Wars fans, like, there are going to be people like that who do level that, and fuck them. Yeah, they're pieces of shit. Like, it's not right and it's not okay. But at the same time, there has to be some kind of, not tolerance to it, but you can't listen to those people. If you listen to those people your whole life, you're not going to get anywhere. You can't let them win like that. You can't let them force you to withdraw from whatever it is that you're doing because of their actions. Like, you have to kind of move past that. And I'm not saying ignore it. I'm not saying just, or take it in stride or get over it. But you have to also, you definitely have to acknowledge that, but at the same time, you can't let that ruin your life. And I think that, I think that it's fucked up that it's a situation that she even has to tolerate, or she even has to get accustomed to, or any of those things. But fuck Star Wars fans because of this shit. This is what I'm talking about. Sometimes shit just gets a bad name because of this. But it's fucked up, and I hate, because that's the kind of, when people that I work with who are big into sports and big into stuff like that, when shit like this happens, that's how they kind of picture Star Wars fans. It isn't the nice, fun-loving people who, I have a friend of mine named Steven who goes to hospitals in Boba Fett Mandalorian armor with other people and visit kids, and he's just a huge Star Wars fan and he loves kids, and like, that's the type of person he is. But here there are these fucking assholes ruining this shit, and it gives such a bad name to anybody who's kind of has a fandom of things or deeply invested in those kind of things. I hate that she feels the need to like have to do that, but at the same time, there is some kind of, you can only tolerate that for so long. Anybody with the thickest skin can't sit there and listen to like death threats about them all day, especially when they're being sent directly to you and there's no kind of filter. It's like, I can kind of see, like, yes, it's fucked up, but you can't let that get to you in that way. And that's just me speaking for myself. I can't speak for her. It like, I can't iterate enough. It's fucked up and it's not right, but don't let that get you down. You're in fucking Star Wars. You did awesome. You know, you did great. You're a success. Fuck those people. They are the trolls. You are successful. You know, it's like, that's just kind of how I look at it. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy.
Yeah, that was. I don't really know how to follow that up,
dude. Because I've thought about that before, and I've thought about, you know, because I mean, kind of in the same aspect of what we do. Like, what would you do if you started getting, you know, that kind of negative feedback to that level? You know, and it's just little hypothetical situations, kind of, that I've thought of before, and it's like I don't think I could let that get me down to that degree, but not everybody is the same. You know, I'm not, you know, obviously what I would do and what she would. It's kind of like when someone's like, oh yeah, if I were in a fight, I would do like this. It's like, dude, you don't really know what you would do, like, you know, until the situation arises. But I hate that, because, you know, she shouldn't have to put up with that. But if you want to keep moving forward, these people, I mean, it's inevitability. They are going to exist, but please don't let that get you down. You know, keep coming back. And I hope that doesn't keep her away from any Star Wars films, or leaves a bad taste in her mouth from that. You know, I would hate that. I really would.
Yeah, man. I agree. I don't know. I think people are being too precious about their movies these days. I mean, I know we're on a podcast right now about movies, and all we do is criticize and shit. But I don't know. I think attacking someone just for doing their job, it's a bit much. And you know, I actually looked at her IMDb. This is her biggest role. It's her breakout role. She hasn't been in anything major before that, so it's a bit disheartening, especially for her career. You know, moving forward, like, she must have been offered this role, and she must have been like, "Holy shit!" You know, I'm doing something right in my life. And then following it, you know, she just got shut down. So, she's doing. She's staying positive. I've had a look at some other articles and shit like that. She's definitely staying positive and getting out there again. But it's just one of those things, you know. I think the community, the negative community, they've just, I don't know, they're being too precious about Star Wars. Star Wars is for everyone. Even the originals, they were for everyone. There were elements in it that appealed to everyone, kids, adults, you know, teenagers. So if Rose was one of the things that didn't appeal to you as an adult, then it appealed to someone else as a child, or maybe a younger female Asian kid, you know? It probably was that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we were talking about with the well, God, I've already lost it. With whatever movie we were talking about, Halloween, and you know, it's like, does this really need to be a thing? It's like, well, somebody thought this was a good idea. Like, I'm not saying that all the time makes it a good idea, or that it's great because somebody thought of it. But with something like Star Wars, you know, this is the first thing that I've heard anything about it. You know, I don't think that I don't think that you could let a very small minority of people overwhelm the majority of positive feedback that was given. Now, I could understand if it was flip-flopped, if there was just so much negative stuff coming back, and, you know, like Sofia Coppola and The Godfather 3, you know, there's so much negative feedback for such a young actress, you know, and she's talked about that before. But, you know, it's ridiculous to have that kind of visceral reaction to it. You know, you can watch a movie and walk away from it, and at the end of the day go, yeah, that sucked, and I thought your acting was terrible, you know, and leave it at that. You don't have to go home and write letters and get riled up, because it's just such a waste of time. You know, I hate even wasting the energy of trying to fight those people or argue with people on the internet, you know, about that kind of stuff, because it's like trying to kick water uphill. You know, it's like, dude, you're never gonna fucking listen to me, you know. And those type of people, you know, I can't help but feel some kind of pity for them, you know. Yeah, like, I hate to be that kind of guy, you know, but I really do, that your life would revolve around something. So I mean, your life must be Star Wars to feel that kind of that kind of negative visceral reaction to it. I can't imagine, like, God, that makes me like, dude, I mean, this is fun, and don't get me wrong, it's a big part of my life. I love talking about movies with you, and I mean, just today I had like a 45-minute conversation with like 4 different people at one time about, we were all just talking about movie. Oh yeah, you remember? Oh yeah, and it can be such a great igniter of friendships and things. I mean, look at us, and we've literally found each other just through a podcast about movies. So there's like with anything good in the world, I think there's just, or like with anything in the world, there's always going to be, good and the evil aspects to it. And the people will, the people will use that in whatever way that they see fit. But like you said, they need to just chill the fuck out, man. Like, especially Star Wars fans are just notorious for that, and it gives just a bad rap to the rest of us who are, really big fans, like, especially like my friend Danny Hartley, who comments on stuff all the time that we do. He's a huge Star Wars fan, we all were growing up, but you kind of get that, like, that's not canon, you're not sticking to the source material, you kind of get that, you get that label as a dorky kind of kid, like, I'll tell you just a quick funny side tangent. Super Bowl a couple of years ago, I was leaving work and somebody's like, hey man, you wanna go work for me tonight? And I was like, nah, I'm good, man. I don't watch the Super Bowl. I don't care about sports. But they're like, oh, what are you gonna go home? What are you gonna go home and do? I was like, probably gonna go home and watch Empire Strikes Back, because I'd watched New Hope and I just bought the original trilogy. And he goes, oh yeah, let me know if Darth Vader wins this time. And I was like, fuck you, dude. Like, but that's the kind of, to people who are outside of it looking in, the kind of, I don't want to say the kind of, I don't want to say psychology, but the mindset of people like that if you're a fan of Star Wars, you're that far into it. And these people give fans like us a bad name for that. But, like I said, it's an underwhelming minority. And I just hope that she can see through that and just be, fuck the haters, dude. There's always going to be fucking haters, man. And there's fights you got to fight and you can't ignore it, but you can't let them bring you down like that at the end of the day. But that's just my opinion. That's what I think.
Badass, man. That's a strong ending to the show, I think.
Yeah, that was pretty good, man. God, my throat is fucking sore. I ran out of LaCroix like 45 minutes ago.
Yeah, man, look, unless you got anything else, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, no, that's it. But yeah, just check us out, Midnight Double Feature. We're on iOS and pretty much all the major podcasting apps. You can always find us midnightdoublefeature@gmail.com, Midnight Double Feature, or at Midnight Double Feature on Instagram. We've also got the After Party, all one word, on connected to our Facebook group, where we post our dick pics and our funny memes and stuff like that. And yeah, feel free to always, rate and review us on iTunes. Let us know how we're doing. If you guys ever have any suggestions, there's a lot of movies I haven't seen. There's a lot of movies you haven't seen. I hope that people start throwing some suggestions our way. But also, I thought about this earlier today. A special shout out to Eric Mason and Jesse Privet from Countdown to Geektown. Those guys are awesome. They are always so supportive of anything we post, anything we put up on our...
They're fucking awesome.
They're great. They're always commenting and liking back on stuff, and they're always just very supportive of anything we do. Most of the time, my phone goes off and you have a new like on something. I'm like, that's probably Jesse Privet. He's a really, really cool guy. And also a local, too. He's just like, maybe a few hours away from me, if that. He's very close by to where I live. And God bless him, he's in Manchester, where Bonnaroo is happening right now. So I can only imagine the noise and the smell that guy has to put up with right now. So, my heart goes out to you, man, because that fucking sucks. But yeah, those guys are great. I actually just finished their Attack the Block episode. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot. But a special shout out to those guys. Those guys are always really supportive of us, so I really appreciate it.
Badass.
But yeah, I guess if that's it, you got anything else you want to say, Zoheb?
Not really, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. This was a great conversation, I think. Hopefully we'll be able to do one of these again in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely look forward to it.
Yeah, man. But yeah, man. Thanks a lot for listening, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, bye-bye.